See, now I got you dancing. You're starting to dance now.
You know what the best part about this too is our pictures stay up during the video. It's not like before where they didn't stay up. So yeah, I know.
They got me
I
sipping
caught
my
myself.
coffee,
I'm like,
too.
what? I got a little Stevie Wonder thing going on over here. All right, so what are we doing today? Okay. All right, welcome back to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown to see a transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline. VET S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network, and we're excited to now be part of the Heroes Group Media family, or Heroes Media Group family. Let's try to get that right. Fantastic group of podcasters and people trying to help our community. If you haven't checked them out yet, please make sure you go do that. Today, we're sitting down with Matthew Askren, CEO of Mindfulme Care. This is an intriguing company. They can provide some much needed help to our community, and looking forward to jumping into this conversation and sharing the information with you. It's going to be exciting. Fresh off synchronized swimming practice with my partner, Keith. How you doing today, Keith?
I'm doing awesome, man. We finally locked in our signature move, the flailing veteran splash. Man, if judging is based on enthusiasm and questionable choreography, we got gold coming every time.
I don't know what I like better, surprising you with these or having you prepare for them, because your responses are awesome. So I don't know. That's great. All right, let's jump right into this. Matthew's probably like, what did I get myself into?
Right?
These guys haven't stopped laughing since they started. All right, so Matthew Askren is the investor and CEO of Mindfulme Care, an AI tech company focused on mental health. He has led groups from the startup size to $60 million in annual revenue and has a demonstrated history of streamlining processes and building the relationships that are required to establish sustainable progress. Prior to his time in the private sector, Matthew spent 7 years in the Marine Corps, including 2 tours in Afghanistan. He graduated summa cum laude from Hampton University with a bachelor's degree in business management. He also received his MBA from Jackson State University. How you doing today, Matthew?
Hey, I'm tremendous. I was just waiting to see if you guys were going to do the triple Lindy as one of your synchronized swimming moves, or in tandem or partner. I think that could really break the atmosphere.
We'll have to work on that. I don't think we've perfected that one yet.
I need the buoyancy of the water just to get him up over my head. Man's so massive.
Oh, man. Here we go. We're completely off the rails already.
Not flattering in a Speedo, though. I'll tell you that much.
Smuggling a stack of dimes. All right. So,
we've totally gone off the rails.
Yep. All right. So, Matthew, man, great to have you here. I'm intrigued by your organization. I can't wait to jump into this. Before we do that, though, man, tell us about your transition out of the Marine Corps. How'd that go?
It wasn't great. I got out at kind of a funny time in veterandom. We still had both wars going on at the time. There were a lot of people getting out after one contract and a lot of people retiring. There were not a lot of people like myself that had done 2 contracts, or in other people's case, maybe 3 contracts, and then pulled the pin. And so because of that, getting out came with really minimal transition support. It appears now that has changed quite a bit. But my tap and tamp class, transition class, was done by a guy whose only job after he got out of the Navy was to be a transition coordinator. And it was very focused on, hey, go get a job at your local base. And that's cool that we need people to go get jobs at their local base. I was not going to live that close to a base. I guess technically Great Lakes was by where I was going to be moving to, sort of. And I planned on growing and building, so that it just wasn't a fit for me. You get out and you realize that everybody in the world is grateful and everybody in the world wants to help you get a job, but that job's going to pay you $10 an hour. Yeah. And I had a mortgage, I had responsibilities that wasn't going to work. I went to the VA to get comp and pen, and I ended up, I think, with 5 0 ratings and 1 rating at 10%. And I won't go forward past there, but I went back a couple of years ago here in Atlanta, and my VSO looked at my stuff and he's like, I've never seen anything like this. He's like, we don't even need to do anything. We can just resubmit what you currently have and it's going to jump exponentially. And he was right. Again, I don't want to go too in depth, but, so it was just a wild time to transition. The best thing I could have done in total transparency was, my brother convinced me to join LinkedIn about a year after I got out. And, I've now been on that platform for almost 15 years, and, built up this following that is very real and very authentic. And, a lot of my opportunities, the origin of them has actually been because I was a relatively early adapter to that platform, especially on the veteran side. On the veteran side, that world has changed a lot in, say, maybe like the last 5 years. But if you were on it way back when and have stayed with it, chances are you're doing pretty well there.
Yeah, that's LinkedIn is a powerful tool, and there's a lot of people that do very well utilizing it as a tool. But I love the whole concept, Keith, of get out and get a job at your local base. For years that's all I had ever heard too, really. And I mean, it's for a lot of people that is the plan. And I mean, where do you sit on that fence?
Oh, I mean, he hit every nail on the head. Yeah. Like, we take pay cuts when we get out. It's just, everybody wants to help, but yeah, it's, there's a lot of truth there. And I don't know where I want to go with this, but I mean, and it has gotten better, but there's still a lot of that happening, right? Repetition. I work in the transition space myself, and I still, despite myself and a lot of my colleagues trying to dispel this, you've got a clearance, you're getting out as an E9, you're guaranteed a job. And it's like, no, you're not. And I see so many people trip, and it's not their fault. They're being fed bad intel, and so they don't prepare. They think it's going to be a glide path, and it's too easy, and then they learn the hard way that it's not. So yeah, no, definitely can relate with everybody in your transition, even though I got out 10 years after you did. So yeah, it's changed a little bit, but maybe not a whole lot. So but yeah, so tell us about the organization and how that came to be from this journey of transition out.
I was able to meet Andy Smith, who's a serial entrepreneur here in Atlanta. At the time, it was no direct link for why we were connected or why we were helping one another, other than we were just good guys that kind of had similar visions. None of our business ventures ever seemed to align well enough. But we stayed in contact, would always grab lunch, would kind of walk through each other's scenarios and try and introduce one another to whoever might be able to help, so on and so forth. Well, we had a conversation earlier this year, and I let him know, hey, I got a little bit of capital that I can deploy, and I'm looking to kind of get into the entrepreneurship space as opposed to just running somebody else's company, which is what I've kind of been doing. And Andy called me back and he's like, I got something you need to look at. So he's like, pull up your laptop and go to mindfulme.care. And at the time, it was not the same website that everybody will see now, and it wasn't as developed and whatever. But he was able to kind of discuss with me the vision that him and the other founder, Rice Abdul, had created this AI that was going to be able to serve people. And the initial target audience was university students. Because if you can believe it, your average 18 to 23-year-old university student, 70% of them admit to having mental health troubles. 30% of them admit to having had a suicidal ideation. So if you think about that, that's just what they admit. So that second number I gave you is probably even in actuality higher than what's reported. And I think that's a great way to go. But I also saw all these parallels for how it could help our community. How it could help active duty. You wouldn't even need to wait until somebody got out to be able to help them. How it could help first responders, sheriff's deputies, Metro Police, kind of you name it, along with all these other things. And so that was how it got started. I put an investment in, and then along the way, Andy and Rice said, because everybody in our group has history running businesses and things like that. So I didn't immediately think I would be the guy running it. My background is in traditionally running manufacturing companies, CPGs, consumer product goods. But they said, hey, we think you should be the one to run this. And I said, well, let's do it. Now we're definitely leaning in on that veteran, military, reserve, military family, first responder part.
That's a fantastic story to how that came about too. It's just, someone you were connected with, and then, the stars just sort of align the right way. So, all right. So what is Mindfulme Care doing? Like, why should people go to this website? And, so tell us the down and dirty on it.
So our goal is to provide people with a companion tool that can help them to have universal mental wellness. And so what does that mean? Because it's words, and they're good words, but it's words. When especially hard-headed, red-blooded American veterans and first responders and service members, when do they get help, especially mental help? And before I'll even let you answer, because I already know your answer, it's way too late. It's when they have a crisis. And we go to beat the blues training or back in the saddle training when you're in, and you hear about how you're after the holidays, you're still supposed to feel okay, or after you get back from deployment, you're supposed to figure things out. What if, novel concept, what if we provided these units, these organizations, an opportunity to have people working on this with minimal time and effort before all that? What if we actually had some sort of a preventative factor? So Mindfulme Care takes AI and it focuses on three main pillars for mental health. You have preventative, you have professional, and then you have emergency. And the preventative part can be meditation. It could be journaling. The AI portion can push notifications and conversations based on the changes in somebody's journals, based on the changes in how they're scoring or rating their daily feelings. Again, trying to build somebody up so that on a daily basis, Shawn, Keith, and Matthew might be at a 4 or 5, but our goal needs to be to get to a 6 or a 7, so that when we get the worst day of our lives, which invariably all of us will, we drop down to a 2 and not a 0, because at a 2, we live to see tomorrow. The preventative, or that's preventative. Professional is the educational portion. We've got 100 courses in our queue right now that are being reviewed by mental health professionals on the ed tech side. That those will be available both from a personal level or an organizational level. And you also at that time got referral opportunities to actual clinicians. So in that regard, it's kind of similar to BetterHelp. And then the last part, which is maybe the most important, even though I hope nobody ever gets there, the emergency part. So if your chatbot, if your AI, if your profile is ever shown to be in trouble, it can immediately contact EMS. And I'm going to share with you guys a really bad story, a story that I don't like at all, but it fits for both the preventative and for the emergency portion where it could have really helped. A couple Mays ago, a personal friend of mine that I was an instructor with on 29 Palms was on Camp Pendleton. I'm going to leave his name out of it, but it was a national story. He was on Camp Pendleton and had that worst day of his life. In uniform, in his car with his pistol, he goes on Facebook Live and basically gives an impromptu suicide note to those of us that are on the live with him. Myself and probably 6 or 7 other people try and talk him off the ledge on this conversation. We don't achieve that. Unfortunately, he racks his pistol, turns off Facebook Live, and unfortunately, he's no longer with us. On base, in uniform, in his car. Now, that takes a piece of me, as it does with all of us when we hear these stories, right? Because we can relate on some level, whether it be by people we know or by our own trials and tribulations. With Mindfulme Care, first of all, he could have been talking to our language model to try and give him an immediate relief. He could have been working on the preventative so that, like we said, he was at that 6 or 7 instead of that 4 or 5, so that when that day happened, he got there. And then on the emergency side, somebody was smart enough to alert through Facebook Live by the end of what was going on. I'll be honest, I wish I knew how to do that. I would have done it at the beginning. But if he had been on our app or using our platform, they would have sent EMS to him beforehand. So maybe it wouldn't have been too late. And so, we just feel like with those pillars and with the target audience that we have, we can just help people. And maybe the last and most important part to this either is this is not some cost prohibitive product, right? I mean, the amount of money that a unit or a sheriff's department would have to spend to provide subscriptions for their people is basically the same amount as going to buy them lunch or dinner once a month, which a lot of units are doing anyway. And in our day, a lot of units spent that much just on the kegs. So I think they've slowed that down, and that's probably a good thing. But when we were in, discretionary funds went a long way to what kegs we were drinking. And this could actually be towards helping people on a literal daily basis, which makes them more mission ready. And maybe that's the part that people need to hear. And it's a little sad that that's the part that people need to hear. But if you're a police chief, if you're a fire chief, if you're a sheriff, if you're a battalion or a regimental commander, mission first, right? This will help your mission readiness. And then all of the other good things that I said, which I personally think at this stage of my life matter a lot more.
First of all, to your comment about the deglamorization of alcohol, I mean, if you've seen the Marine Corps birthday ball hasn't changed its methods of madness in 250 years. So I don't think that's necessarily, they're cutting back on anything there. So I love what you're doing. I love this program. And it actually reminds me of another heartbreaking story that I just heard about in the news this week with ChatGPT is being sued by a family who, I guess the algorithm taught their child how to take their own life. And so it's the exact opposite, right? And it's just, so people hear AI and they sometimes they're thinking craziness and it's the worst and it's evil and all these things. So for everybody listening out there for this program, we always just, we always, hear mental wellness is just, talk about your feelings, tell us what you're feeling. Right. But how does this program cut through that and actually deliver meaningful, practical help for those people in crisis?
Sure. So it starts by people using it before they ever need it. So again, I'll use the unit example because I think that that's the one where it can provide, honestly, the largest help. You have a company of 250 people. You have a battalion, of 3 or 4x that amount of people. You have a regiment at 3 or 4x that amount of people. They get subscriptions for their service members, and their service members then start needing to use it 3 times a week before they ever need it. And it starts with them, again, doing meditation or doing a journaling or tracking it the same way that I go to the Strava app to track my fitness before I go run a marathon. This is our own.
Whoa. Let's not have any dirty talk on the show. We're not going to be talking about marathons and say, no.
But
it's a family show.
It's tracking these things so that you can use them as a habit and a tool with a little bit of assistance from, again, the leadership in that unit to say, hey, you guys need to be using this. Also, there's portions of our product that will always be free. And so say that we're all PFCs together, so if we're all PFCs together, we're having issues or we're doing great, but maybe our wife is struggling. And maybe we're even having financial hardship. So maybe even the low cost that this does run is too much. Got it. That spouse can get an account and can do it with you up to a certain level. So these things, if they're done early on and if they're done consistently, again, it's going to provide a baseline to see how you're actually doing, how you're actually feeling. It's going to provide you with support and opportunities on ways to build it up with, again, everything from the meditation to the journaling, so on and so forth. But then also, let's say you haven't done your activity in 6 days. Our language model can proactively reach out and say, hey, is everything okay? Let's say normally you're a 7, but you've been a 3 the last 3 days. Now the language model can proactively reach out and say, hey, is everything okay? We've seen that this isn't the same. Does it have anything to do with what was in your previous stuff? And it can try and engage some sort of a next level thinking and proactivity. It may even recommend a course. Hey, we've got a course on that. Or it can recommend, we can refer you and pair you with a mental health professional. So there's options.
Yeah.
The model for this is exactly the same as the Army resiliency training. Where you use you practice the skills when you don't need them, so that you have them when you do need them. And now I love the concept. I think it's important that we continuously work on these types of skills, these things that are going to help us make it through the dark days and dark times. And it's powerful. And this is recently launched, right? So, ultimately, is your goal to have like full units, military units getting on board with this? And, is that part of your goal as you expand?
Yeah. So we ultimately see it starting out we've already got a commitment from a sheriff's department in Georgia. They're going to roll it out for 120 people. And again, we want more than that, but that's a starting point where we're going to see a group that actually starts it out and pushes it down, and we can get some real actionable results from that. Our apps are ready. We've got the language model is fully functional. So the goal will be to kind of spend a period of time working out some of the kinks and the bugs with what we would call our pilot partners. And then also, any nonprofit type partners for veterans or so on and so forth. But we also want it to get into universities. Andy Smith, who's one of my business partners, as part of the entrepreneurship cohort at Kennesaw State here in Georgia, they got 55,000 students. If you believe those numbers, about 27,000 of them need our service. So even if an institution like that were to buy 5,000 subscriptions to help out roughly 10% of their student body, we could be helping a lot of people. And ultimately, we see ourselves kind of in that business to consumer model where just random Joe Schmo says, this looks like it could help me, and they go on our website and sign up. So we would like for it to ultimately help everyone, but aim small, miss small. So we're starting off with these conversations with the first responders, with both active duty military, reserve military, and veterans groups. And again, the more feedback we get from those pilot partners, the more that we can round this out and make it as useful as possible, so that when it is one day helping out 100,000 people, we're really providing a product that helps save lives.
Man, I absolutely love this, Keith. I think this could be very helpful for our community if we can get people to start doing the education piece.
Yeah. And just to get this clear, because I'm pretty sure I'm following, but like, this doesn't just tell you to go meditate. This walks you through like how to do it, what to do, because that's half the battle right
Yeah.
there. Like I've been trying to do some of this meditation stuff for about a year now, and I still can't. Like I have a attention span of 5 seconds, and then my brain goes off into Timbuktu. So the fact that it helps walk you through those things, and probably even the journaling and stuff, is amazing. My one question is, the veteran space, especially, I don't know about the college kids because I was never one of them, but we tend to be a little stubborn, a little bullheaded, and so it's hard enough from human to human to convince one of our own that, hey, you need help, go leverage this service or product. How is AI gonna do the same or even better than what we can do?
So the
as
goal
humans?
there is that by getting implemented through existing organizations, that there's a community feel to it in that regard. And then also within the app, there's a Discord community, there's a WhatsApp community. So, and people can even use an avatar or a screen name to have a level of anonymity. And so that community part of it, we believe, is going to be what helps drive people that are already in the platform. And we hope that uh, uh, recommendations from these existing organizations that are kind of purchasing the initial subscriptions are what give people kind of the feel like they can do it, and it's not going to affect their masculinity or their identity. Um, that's the goal there, and that's part of why we're rolling it out the way we were. If we were trying to roll it out in a pure business to consumer model, we would just buy billboards. But then I don't think we would hit our veteran community. I don't think we would hit our the people that are taking care of us with the first responders. I think we would find a totally different audience, and we want to get to that audience eventually. But we're a mission driven, purpose driven organization, and so we want our people that are helping us to kind of get the first crack at it. Andy Smith, his father was a Navy veteran in Vietnam. My father's a Vietnam veteran, grandfather World War II, great grandfather World War One. Obviously, like you guys, I was hooking and jabbing in the global war on terror. So this means more to us than it does your average person, maybe in Silicon Valley. Even Rice Abdul, or the founder who's got the tech involvement, he he loves military and first responder. Like that's his thing, right? So we're built on a mission, we're built on a purpose, and now it's implementation.
Nice. And one more question, because we do have to wrap this up soon, but I keep hearing platform. So where is this available? Is it on the app stores? Is it just a website? Is it all across? Where can people find this stuff?
So I'm actually really glad you asked that, because it leads me to another piece to this. So we have 3 apps created because in today's world, I guess it's not good enough to just have one. You got to have the Android, you got to have the iOS, and then there's a third one. I don't know if it's Samsung. It's escaping me at the moment. I know the answer, but it's just not in my brain the second. But so we've got all of those ready. They're ready to be published. We've also got the website, which is mindfulme.care. Mindfulme.care. And so through any one of those, somebody would be able to sign up, join once we launch, which we're hoping to launch to the public hopefully in the next 30 days or so. And to do that, we're actually beginning our capital raise. So we're trying to figure out how we want to go about that, whether we're going to do crowdfunding, whether we're going to do individuals, whether we're going to try and go the VC. Andy and I both have pretty extensive background with private equity firms and family offices and VCs, so we could go that route as well. So we'll probably have that figured out in the next week or two, and then we'll begin the capital raise. And once the capital raise is done, then launching the apps and covering kind of the back end support to the users should be a snap.
Nice. Well, we are at time. Shawn, do you have anything before we have to wrap this up?
No, like I said, I love the concept of this. I think, teaching people the skills before they need them is huge. And I hope our community jumps on board with this, because this is a problem that is just continuing to grow, and we need to do something about it. So,
yeah. And I love it. Like, I'm not going to lie. I've used AI a few times already I was down. Right. And it was like, maybe AI can help me change my mindset a little bit. And it did, so the fact that y'all are creating this language model to do just that, I think it's going to be incredibly powerful. I really hope this just blows up. So with that said, 2 more questions to take us out, Matthew. One, if you could have a celebrity spokesperson to take this thing and launch it out there, who would it be? And then 2, how can people get in touch with you and the other organizers to support or get involved or even use the program?
Great. So we actually are in conversations with a celebrity, so I'm not going to say the name.
Oh,
but what I will tell
nice.
you is the archetype of this celebrity is somebody that has played military leaders and tribal leaders and motorcycle club leaders, in the past, and has the type of face and the type of kind of legacy that makes people think rough, tumble, strong, salt of the earth type leader. I'll throw one name that we're not talking to. How about that? That this guy reminds me of. Sam Elliott, almost like a Sam Elliott type.
Nice.
So
Okay.
if you think of
very
when we
cool.
were soldiers, and he's the sergeant major, and
Yep.
they're
Mhm.
telling him good morning, and he's asking if the weatherman. It's kind of that gruff. Because look, that's all of us, or at least used to be all of us, right? Maybe I've softened a little in the last 15 years, but it's sort of used to be us, and so we can relate. Like, hey, somebody with that aura, to use one of my children's words, somebody with that aura, if they're saying it's okay to do this mental health, mental wellness stuff, maybe it's all right. The back end of your question, finding us, you can find us on social media, find our website, Mindfulme Care, or mindfulme.care would be the website. I'm on LinkedIn. I got 19 or ish thousand followers. Connect with me, follow me. That's a-okay either way. Andy Smith is on pretty much all platforms as Andy Smith Life. He is a content machine. And then Rice Abdul, R-A-I-Z, Rice Abdul is also on. Connect with any of us. Join the fun while it's early.
Nice. Awesome stuff. Well, Matthew, thanks so much for coming on the show. And I even if it's not Sam, I think it would be awesome because I actually think Sam's a veteran, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
he is.
Too,
This
so,
is not Sam.
yeah.
This gentleman is actually we're in
Yeah.
talks with, is actually a Brit. But if I
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
what
Yeah.
his IMDb is, and obviously when his picture is on a billboard, you won't know
Yeah.
where he's from anyway. But if I told you, and when we hang up on the live recording, I'll tell you who it is, and
Okay.
when I tell you his IMDb, you'll go, okay, I get it.
I think I might know because I was thinking this guy for a second when you said some of the stuff, and now that you say Brit, I'm pretty sure I know it. But anyway, we got to wrap this up. So to all of our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. On behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we'd like to thank everyone for being here. VET S.O.S is continuing to grow and spread its wings. You can follow us on all those social media platforms. Make sure to check out all 4 of our shows and follow and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. We're on YouTube, Reach Across America Radio, the Heroes Media Group, as Shawn messed up earlier, and all those other favorite podcasts, as I keep messing up, podcast platforms out there. And as always, folks, remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.